despite best efforts. We will post on the Westborough Public Library an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And the meeting is being recorded, as you just heard. To automatically receive agendas when they're posted, visit the town's agenda website and subscribe to email notifications, text notifications, or both. So thank you. Let me start by welcoming Kate Caraccio. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Kate?
You are. It's Caraccio. Yep.
Caraccio. She is our new library director. I believe you're officially started now, Kate?
I did. I started yesterday. It's day 2, and I haven't run away yet. So
okay, that's a good sign. Well, welcome. Welcome to the building committee. And just jump in if you have questions or comments or anything. Let's see.
Ed, may I say one thing?
Sure.
I don't think Kate was on when Bob introduced himself. Bob up there, and I don't know what corner he's in for you. He's our liaison to the Congo Church, Kate. And I'm the liaison to the Congo Church. He's the liaison to us from the church. And he's a wonderful person to work with.
I tell you what, just to go quickly here, let's go have people, we've had Bob's been introduced. Let's have everyone quickly go through and introduce themselves and what their role is on the committee or in the building project. And if you already, Kate, people already know Kate, you can just say that to them. Lynn, why don't you start?
Oh, goodness. I'm Lynn Sukup. I'm the assistant director and a building committee member.
I'm Ed Baldwin. I'm the chair of the building committee and a trustee. Mary, I have you next.
I'm Mary Christensen, and I'm a trustee, and I am sitting in for my first building committee meeting. So thank you for.
We can all hope the excitement won't be overwhelming.
Right.
Lee.
I'm Lee Emery. My mother is the person who was responsible for building the addition on the library for the children's room in 1980. Been a long time resident of Westborough on different committees like selectmen and stuff. And I was fortunate enough to be the Board of Selectmen's liaison to this committee, and they left me on it even after I finished being on the board. So I'm enjoying being here.
Bob, you were already introduced, I believe. Walter?
Hi, Walter Leslie. I'm a member of the Advisory Finance Committee and their member for this committee and the library liaison.
Bob Petrocelli.
Oh, hi, I'm Bob Petrocelli, a 37-year resident of Westborough, and I'm vice chair of the library building committee.
Eric?
I am Eric Moore with Lamero Pagano Architects. I'm a principal architect for the project.
Tony?
Tony D'Amano, also with Lamero Pagano, one of the designers on the team.
Mike?
I'm Mike Karp. I'm a trustee, and nice to see you again.
Brian?
Brian Forrest, Vertex Companies. We're the owner's project manager for the town of Westborough for this library project.
Mike?
We have another Mike?
There's Mike Williams here.
Ooh.
Okay. Mike, I'm not hearing you. Yeah, I'm just going to jump in. That's Mike Williams. He's another member of the architectural team. And Bill.
Hi.
Heard that, Mike. So. And then we have Bill Denane.
Bill Denane, fourth generation here in town like Lee. My great grandfather was involved in the building of the library and past member of the trustees and member of the construction committee.
I didn't know that about your great grandfather. That's cool.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Kate, let's touch base later sometime at your convenience, and I can give you a much more in-depth briefing because we're throwing into the deep end right now. So,
please, I appreciate that.
And you may have met Sean Keogh, who is the select board member and the select board's liaison with the building committee. Okay, next thing we have is public forum. Are there any members of the public here who wish to speak?
Yes, I would, if you don't mind, Ed.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, my apologies for delaying this. I missed several meetings, but Ed, if you remember correctly, about 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago, there was discussion regarding the HVAC system, which you had pointed out to me would be on library property near the fire escape. And one of the questions I had, or the question I have regarding the HVAC system is, I typically have seen HVAC systems sitting on cement pads. So my question would be, or my assumption is, the HVAC system that will be necessary for a building the size of the library will probably have to be on a cement pad. And the question is, could we assume that that will require the construction manager, whoever that happens to be, to bring a cement mixer onto church property? Is that a fair assumption?
I'll take a quick answer at that, and then I'll ask someone from LPA or one of our expert members to address it further. It would be convenient, but it's not necessary if we if we don't work out an agreement to bring I believe there will be a cement pad. We may also need to pour cement for ADA emergency access from the back corner of the library. That I think it would be most easiest to do it with a cement mixer, but you can also get concrete pumpers, which could sit on the road and reach out many, many yards to do the pumping.
Well, I think you and Lee are well aware, and other members of the committee may not be aware, that heavy weight anywhere near our church building is a major concern for the church. Our building was built in 1834, and during the previous project, the library renovation project, we became aware that should there be compromising of the structural integrity of our church, potentially due to heavy equipment anywhere near the church, the town would be, and I quote, not involved. We would have to deal with the contractor to their insurance company, or our insurance company would have to pay. And so that's why there is a major concern on the part of the church regarding heavy equipment on our property or anywhere near our church. The second question I have is, at some point, Ed, can you get back to me and let me know what the weight of that HVAC system is? Because that also gives us a sense of what type of vehicle will be necessary to bring in the HVAC system, and what kind of crane or lift would be necessary to pull it off a delivery vehicle and put it into place. And again, it's the same concern that the church has regarding the weight of vehicles near our building. And clearly, I don't think I'd be surprising anybody if I said the church would not look forward to having our insurance company pay for structural renovation of our church if it potentially could be caused by the library project. So that's the background to just fill people in. But if you could give me that information, that would be great.
Okay. Eric, can your team dig up that information, and we'll forward it to Bob later, unless if you have it right now.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
I have no questions, and I will blank my picture, but we'll be listening in, as I know that after the public forum, the public is not allowed to comment.
Okay. I will just a comment from my end. We, the building committee, and our consultants have been working on defining more what we need from the parking lot, and we've passed that information on to Christy Williams, the town manager, and she will be, I believe, back in touch with you to we're still fuzzy at this point, but to start nailing that down. But as I said, I'll ask the architects team to put some numbers on and weights in there, so we can get back to you with that.
That would be terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public? Okay, next thing is the review and discussion of the new cost estimate provided by LPA and Vertex. So before we get into that, we distributed a bunch of information for that. I want to check that the building committee members were able to access that.
So a lot of information. Yes.
It's a vast amount of information. Yes, it's actually 720 megabytes of stuff at that link. So it takes a while to download it all. Yeah, that, I will say, if push comes to, if people need it, we can compress that down by a factor of 5 or 6 or so and make it, get something almost as legible and much easier to deal with. So if people would like that, let me know.
Are you going to have it share the screen, Ed, while we go over it?
I'm gonna let LPA do and Vertex present first, and if they probably will end up sharing the screen.
Yeah.
And Brian, just to check, I believe you were going to bring a total project cost estimate to this call. Is that correct?
And that's correct.
Okay, great. So let me, in that case, let me hand it over to LPA and Vertex, and y'all can start telling us what you got.
So I'll ask Eric and what you feel is best. You know, we could start from the top down, and I can show where we stand from a project budget as we sit now with what we've been committed to date from our first town meeting ask. And then we can go into how we look on our total project budget based upon what Ed's presentation was at town meeting, showing what we foresaw at the schematic design phase, what we thought the entire budget was going to cost, and what the new estimates reflect from that. So if that works, I can show kind of a high level top down total project budget. And then we can kick it to the design team, who can go maybe a little bit more into the weeds with the estimate and show some of the discrepancies that we have between schematic design and design development.
That works for us, Brian. We can, if you want to hit the total project budget first, that would be fine.
So one thing I want to share first, this is a page that is, let me make sure everyone can see. See my screen?
Yes.
So this is page 4 of our vendor invoice packet. Our accounting firm takes all the money that's been committed to date. And this project budget reflects what was asked at town meeting minus the schematic design phase. So currently right now, the OPM and the architect fees are fully committed. Those are the contracts that we have and shows what we've been spent to date. The administration fees, these were placeholders that we had for the town meeting. We wanted to make sure we didn't shortchange ourselves throughout this year of design in case we needed some other things. And we have nothing committed to date. So as we get into our construction documents, we do have these pots of money that we can bring to you as the committee to recommend some added services. For example, we're going to go through the cost estimate here for design development. One of my recommendations would be to use some of our administration fees that we have here to possibly go out and get an estimate from Vertex as well. We would use our third-party estimator to reconcile those to make sure that we're as confident as possible in our construction number before going out to bid or before going out for our town meeting ask. So currently right now, we have a little over $250,000 that's available to spend. And the matter would be if we do not spend these after this year and we go to town meeting for the entire project cost, we would reflect that cost based upon any monies that we had not spent in this first phase of the budget. Any questions? I'm going to share an Excel sheet now. And what I've done here, trying to make it as simple as possible, is to use the same budgeting worksheet that I had done prior to, where we had our SD estimate and where we stood. And what I did is I added another column based upon the DD estimate and the construction subtotals with the new alternates that we have. A lot of these are carryover and placeholder numbers based upon what we've had before, and we'll be updating those as we work through this. For example, I know Bill and Al and myself have had a call. We've talked about temporary operations. The hope is that within the next couple months, we have a finer idea on what this is going to cost, and those temporary and moving costs would be updated accordingly.
Can you expand that a little bit, Brian?
How's that?
Better, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to scroll down to the little color codes that we had here, and the first column being our original SD estimate, the R column was the updated SD estimate based on some soft cost changes that we had. And this reflects the number that we asked at town meeting 2024. So that this highlighted cell here is what the ask was, and what we are working under as our budget right now. And this column T right here is based upon this DD estimate. What I've done is created a number for the cost of the grand total of the project without alternates, a total project cost with the alternates. I will say that the alternates have changed slightly from the SD to the DD phase. That includes the front entrance and the ramps on the front. We also have now included the areas of refuge and the options that we discussed at our previous meeting. There is some window alternates as well as a deduct alternate for the slate roof. Lee, did you have your hand up?
Yes, on the total cost. Oh, you said ramp in the front of the building? Now, do you mean if we have to do handicap access alterations for the front or something else that you're
That's
talking
correct.
about?
No, that's correct. That's what I'm referring to.
Because, and do you have, maybe I missed it, do you have an estimate of what that, I know it, I'm pretty sure you do. You have an estimate of what it would cost to do that whole renovation, because part of it's outside the building, part of it's inside the building. Okay, there we go. Yep.
Just under
Huge.
$600,000 for that.
Yeah. Okay.
So to keep it a little bit high level on my part here, the with the estimate that we have here, taking into account the alternates that we have, we're projecting that the ask at annual town meeting 25 would be between 14.3 and around 14.9. Ed's presentation at the annual town meeting 2024 had the total project costs at roughly 15.6. So right now we're trending in that range, slightly a little bit higher right now, depending on the alternates and some of the waivers and variances that are being going for right now. Like I said, as we work into CDs, we'll be refining a lot of the soft costs, the furniture costs, technology costs, as well as getting the temporary and moving budgets squared away, get a more solidified number so that when we do go to town meeting, we can be as accurate as possible.
So the calculation I'm making here is that the project ask has gone up by, estimate has gone up by about 670,000 from the schematic design to now.
That's correct. And the spreadsheet that I think Eric is going to be showing is a delta between the two estimates. And he created a pretty good spreadsheet that shows about 12 or 15 comments as to what the genesis of the change was. So I'll leave it to him to give that explanation.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the group?
I have one question is, I don't know who's doing that, but
Sorry,
maybe,
I'm turning it off.
Yeah, one of the alternatives on the slate, I'm a little confused because it says green slate in some places and gray in other. And so I was looking for clarification whether the alternate was green or gray.
Good question. The alternate that I saw was for green slate
Eric,
substitute.
I can speak to that, I feel like.
Yeah.
So the difference in cost between gray, green, some of the other color options is minimal. The big cost difference is whether or not the project goes with a non-fading red slate or an alternate color, because of the difficulty of obtaining the red slate.
Yeah, understood. It's just in the other document, they're both gray and green, so I didn't know what the proposal was.
Okay. Yeah, we still need to discuss that with the committee.
Okay. Okay. Other questions? We can always come back to this.
Had a question.
Go ahead.
Can you just go back, Brian, to that Excel spreadsheet with the colored lines there? I just had a quick question. The bottom 4 colored lines. What you just had up.
Yep.
Right. So in other words, you had said that the 2025 ask would be between 14.3 and 14.5 million. And adding to the schematic design ask at the 2024 meeting would bring it to about 15.6 million total estimated cost. But then I see on the blue line over on the right-hand column, 16.1.
Yes.
Can you explain what's the delta between the 15.6 and the 16? Is that what we asked for originally?
Ultimately, and I definitely can do a better job showing what this is, but this, the 15.5, that number is the sum of what we've already asked for and what the project ask without the alternates would be. So this 14.3 number is a summation of all of our soft costs, inclusive of the construction subtotal and no alternates.
And no alternates. Okay.
Correct. The 14.9 is the same summary, but inclusive of all of the alternates taken.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the 16.1 would be that 14.9 plus what we've already asked for at the previous town meeting.
All right. So in our minds, we probably should be looking at 16.1 just with the whole, if everything went through with the alternates. Okay.
Correct.
So it's going to be probably the whole project, not just the 2025 ask, would be coming in at around 16.1, depending on the construction bids.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, this would be to Eric and Mike and Tony, is that alternate number 1, which is roughly around $600,000 for the front steps and the ramp and the front of the front of the property. If that's not needed, that puts another $600,000 back down to where we are.
Yeah, that's correct, Brian. I was going to mention that because, our thought is that waiver will be granted by the Architectural Access Board. They've actually, Tony can report on this a little later, but we've actually heard back from them. They've pushed the hearing to the end of this month. So we will not get an answer until at the very earliest, the end of August. And most likely it'll take a couple of weeks or so beyond that. But we feel it's, we've seen that elsewhere, they've granted Marlborough, they granted Shrewsbury. So we don't expect that will not be granted.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, knocking on wood there. Brian, just I noticed there's an alternate 2 and an alternate 2A. So those are mutually exclusive. Which one did you pick?
I took the one that was recommended to the committee last month, which was the alternate number 2, which
alternate
was
number 2. Okay.
Correct. The least invasive of the 2 options that was presented to you. So I carried just under $120,000 for that work.
Right.
And just to follow up on that, alternate number 2 was also presented a couple of weeks ago to the local disability commission, and they offered their support for that option.
Okay. Right. So if for whatever reason we chose one of the alternates is using the green or gray slate or whatever it is, which is 260,000 or so. So if we took like a worst case, it could, of the worst case set of alternates, it would be something on the order of $1 million.
Actually, at the 263 for the slate is a deduct alternate.
Right. Yeah. So if for whatever reason we decided to say red, the alternates would be that much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will just add to Ed that we would need to be strategic in how we ranked the alternates, as they need to be taken in order on bid day. So if we do have 5 alternates, one of which is a different slate material, and we receive our bids with all general contractors putting a value to all the alternates, we wouldn't be able to cherry pick which ones we wanted. We would have to take them in order. So that's something that's going to be very important before we go out to bid is making sure the sequence is correct.
Okay.
And strategizing whether we want credits or ads first before in order. So
The important thing to remember with that is options 1, 2, and 2A are all something that are just going before the access board. And so they'll give us, before the project goes out to bid, they'll give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So we'll know by the time this goes out to bid whether those are in the project or out of the project.
it's a good point, Tony, that although they're called alternates, I think it was for the exercise of the estimator so that we could see what they actually were going to cost. If it's going to be required, it's going to be inserted in the bid documents. It won't, there's no pointing of it being an alternate if we have to take it. So that will make the decision easier for us on those.
Yes. Okay, any other questions on the total project budget estimate? And not hearing any. In that case, I think the plan, Eric, you were planning to go into some more detail on the construction costs.
Yeah, I'm going to share I'm going to attempt to share my screen so that we can go through this. Can anybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. It worked. So Brian did a good job of explaining the kind of the big picture things. I'll go through in a little more detail some of the reasons some of these items went up or down. So starting with existing conditions on the project, it looks like this is a significant change. It's not really as much as that because it includes, the DD estimate in column line D here, or I'm sorry, C, includes about $120,000 for asbestos remediation that was previously carried in the grand summary page. So that was, it doesn't have as big an impact as it appears. So this is really just looking at a comparison of the direct costs between the SD estimate and the DD estimate. Concrete was.
Eric, can I just jump in and make sure I understand that? So what we're seeing essentially is $120,000 moved from Brian's sheet to your sheet. And I'm guessing that's because you have an actual estimate rather than a guesstimate about the cost of asbestos remediation.
That's right, Ed.
Okay.
It's more of a kind of an accounting thing than anything else. The concrete was not a major factor here. It actually went down slightly. Masonry had a couple of items. One was the availability of the brick for the reconstruction of the two chimneys. That the existing brick on the library is a Roman sized brick, which is very unusual, and it's not something that's produced, similar to red slate. It's just not a common thing. So the way they would probably estimate this would be to take full size bricks, 4-inch high by 12-inch long, and they would cut those down. So there would be a great deal of waste on it. So if we decided to go to the modular brick, which is, which would not match, which is what you have up on the chimneys now, it would be less. The other masonry items, we did add an allowance for repointing of the 1980 edition. If there are places that we've observed, there might be some repointing necessary due to cracking or whatnot. That would cover this. And then let's see, that was masonry. Metals, it was a difference of about $74,000. one of the changes that was made was we originally had stainless steel railings. And we wanted to match the existing, so we looked at the cost of bronze railings, which is what you have out there on the front of the building. And that was a higher cost for the bronze. There was also a revision where we went for the guardrails at the interior stairs. This would be at the circulation ramp and also in the main stairway at the Parkman Street entry. There's some guardrail there. We had proposed a glass system for that, and so you're seeing some increase because of that. Previously, we just had a metal pickets. There was also some steel reinforcement that was necessary at the 1980 roof framing. So the existing rooftop equipment is going away, but it's being replaced with new units. And the new unit, or the biggest unit, is larger and heavier than what's up there. And our structural engineer wanted to get that to a place where it could be supported between columns, and he could reinforce the structural steel. So that was an added cost because of the structural framing. And you'll also see that there was some, for that same reason, there was some reworking of existing ductwork that was necessary to tie into that unit that we'll talk about later. Item number 7 was additional plywood sheathing at the 1908 roof. So we're proposing that once that roof is stripped off, it'll be replaced with plywood. Or I'm sorry, not replaced, but plywood will be added to create a new substrate, and that will be also an improvement to the seismic resistance. We're also putting down some plywood at the attics just for access purposes. If you need to get up there, you won't have to walk between joists and that sort of thing.
Eric,
I'm seeing a few questions, so I don't know if you want to.
yeah, no, let's if you don't mind, we'd like to go ahead and break in. So Lee?
Yeah, on the brick that wouldn't match, you said we have Roman brick up there now. So I'm presuming this is what we see on top of the building?
Well, what's out there now for the whole body of the building is Roman brick. At some point, the 2 chimneys were rebuilt, and they were rebuilt with just common modular brick. So it's not if you look carefully, you'll see that the brick size at the chimneys does not match what's on the rest of the building.
Do we need to have it match if it saves money? I mean, I
No,
don't think people look at it very much.
No, it would not have to match. I mean, you could match the color and texture of the brick,
Yeah.
but not the size. So that's one of the things that has, and some of these items, obviously, some of them have to be done, but others, I think there's an option whether you want to go with those or not. So that would definitely be a potential
savings. I just know when you
potential
start
savings.
I know when you start cutting down brick or stone to match a different size, it takes a lot of time and energy and adds a lot of cost to a project to have to customize a different size brick or stone. So I'm concerned about that. And then on the bronze railing, are we putting this in a new place? We have the bronze railing out front, and we have it when you get in the outside, in the foyer.
Mm-hmm.
But where are you saying that we're going to have to match the bronze someplace else?
Yeah, so the main stair, as you walk from Parkman Street, and you have the stair and the ramp there.
Right.
The guardrails currently don't meet the requirements for
Right.
accessibility, so those
Different
those
height,
are
right.
being different heights and spacing and railings and so forth. So those are proposed to be replaced. And originally they were proposed to be replaced with stainless steel. But after seeing all of the other bronze finishes out there in terms of the door hardware and the metal railings, we would propose matching that bronze to be a little more historically accurate.
So I think that's something we should discuss. To me, that doesn't seem like a very important aesthetic component of that entrance, but I think the committee needs to make a decision on that. How much is the delta between the stainless steel to the bronze?
Bear with me.
Eric, I looked at this today and it looked like it was around
45,000.
45,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me jump in. I'm going to suggest that after we go through this, we delegate a couple of several small groups of committee members to dig into the different issues in detail, and then come back at our next meeting with a recommendation and more information, rather than trying to make all the decisions right now.
Yeah, we can help with that too, Ed.
Okay.
What we can do is we can assign some numbers to this, so it's a little, and we can also identify which ones, really we can't do anything about, and what others we can. So.
Okay. Maureen.
My question was also about railings, about the ones in the wooden staircase that goes up to the top floor. But if we're going to talk about railings offline, it can wait. It's not urgent.
That's one of the things we'll need to do, Eric, is understand which things we're discussing. I have the impression, right, the stainless to bronze question is on the Parkman Street stairs.
It would also be the new railings that are being proposed for the wall rail at the historic 1908 stair as well.
Okay. Yeah, so that's my personal aesthetic opinions might be different for those two sites. So, okay. So as I said, once Eric finishes going through his list, let's flag everything that we have questions about, and we'll set up groups to look into each one of them.
Sounds good.
Okay. So Eric, let's go ahead and
sure.
Please
can
break
everybody?
it.
Can you still see my screen?
Someone was saying something. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Just wanted to follow up on a point Lee raised. Does any member of the team working on this have access to some software that can show us an elevation with the showing us what the different views drop the different views of the Roman bricks and the standard bricks on the surface? I'm a visual learner. I apologize for that. It's probably a very low order of learning, but I need it.
I do have access to Matterport scan that I could share and walk through the existing conditions.
That would be really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, we also have some existing conditions photos of the chimneys that will show you what it looks like now, with the modular size brick as opposed to the Roman size.
Eric, after this meeting, can you resend the link to the Matterport? I know we have it, but that was several months ago.
Sure, can do that.
Thank you. And Mike, just to be clear, that shows the existing. It doesn't show what it would look like with the new brick or rails or whatever other choice it may be.
That's correct, Ed. It's just how it exists right now.
So we don't actually have the capability to show the alternatives and just switch the bricks. I mean, that's been standard CAD software for like 30 years.
Yeah, I don't think we've modeled the exterior of the building to the level of
And we pay
individual
for their
bricks.
time.
But I think we can get something together to represent that graphically.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's necessary. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer on the bricks at the top of the building.
I focus on no-brainers.
$90,000, a lot of money.
Yeah. And we're going to have enough trouble with this budget anyway, getting by the town meeting.
Mhm.
So one of the things, having to just moving on to the next item on the slate, we had assumed that the town, and maybe this is an incorrect assumption, we had assumed that the town might have a use for the salvaged slate that comes off the building. So it was proposed that, or at least in the cost estimate, it was carried that the slates would be removed carefully without breaking them, and they would be put on pallets and turned over to the owner. If that is not something that that you would want for any reason, that is worth about $50,000.
It would cost $50,000 to do it that way.
To take them off carefully as opposed to just letting them fall to the ground, I imagine.
Yeah,
okay.
and that's carried in the estimate already, so it's not adding to what you already see in there. It's included.
But it could be taken out.
It could be taken out, yeah.
I thought the point of that originally was if we were gonna stick with red, we wouldn't have to buy as much. But if we're not sticking with red, then it doesn't seem likely to me the town would want a bunch of pallets of slate.
Unless there's other town buildings with red slate, or there's potential to sell them to somebody else who's desperate for our shape of red slate tiles. But okay, that's something. Again, let's not go too far, get too deep into this.
Yep. So the next item was had to do with the existing copper skylight. And as we got into that and started to look at some of the details and how that goes together, we realized that the schematic design estimate just didn't adequately cover the scope of work. So that was increased to cover that at the DD level. We also, as we started to get into things a little more, item 10 had to do with replacing the existing carpet. As you remember, that one point we had talked about that as an alternate, and the idea was, we thought that it could be protected with plywood and such, and then reused. But what we found was that there was so much work being done to the floor slab, in terms of floor boxes in the slabs, cutting and patching. It did not make sense to do that. So that's something that it wasn't a major cost difference, but we did carry new carpet throughout.
So if I can break in, that was a $17,000 add alternate back at the schematic design phase, and we've converted it now to $8,400 just difference. And
Correct.
You're recommending that we do
Correct,
it. Okay,
Ed.
cool.
That's right. Yeah, because we just started seeing that there was a lot more floor slab work that it really, to us, didn't make sense to keep that and try and protect that carpet. Not to say that it couldn't be removed and reused someplace else in the town. It is modular carpet, so it doesn't have to be thrown away, but I think for this project, you wouldn't have enough of it to cover it. There was the addition of some custom signage above the circulation desk that was worth, I think, in the vicinity of about $20,000. That would definitely fall into the optional category. We included replacement of the existing PVC boiler flue. Right now, your existing gas boiler vents through a PVC pipe that runs up inside one of the masonry chimneys, and it's not a high temperature PVC, so it's not the right type. So we've included actually replacing that, so that is a requirement to do. We also found as we got into things that just as a matter of course, as we get into the design development phase and start to really home in on things, we saw that the HVAC equipment and scope was more costly than originally anticipated at the schematic level. HVAC ductwork scope, that was directly related to relocating that rooftop equipment. We rather than being able to just tie into the ductwork right there, it needed to be reconfigured and to hit the new location.
Because what's driving that change? It sounds like the roof equipment is being put somewhere else.
That's right. That's a structural change. It was due to the fact that the new rooftop equipment was heavier than the original, and it needed to be located in a place where it could be supported by existing columns and new structural reinforcing beams. So that's what there was a cost both in terms of the structure and also the HVAC ductwork to hit that new location.
Okay. And does this include the change from the 60-ton chiller to the 30-ton chiller?
It does, yeah. The DD scope is based on a 30-ton chiller. We did see, just in general, we saw kind of an increased scope as we started going through the and identifying specific data cabling, TV, and IT requirements. Based on our meetings with Westborough TV and the IT department in Westborough, we found that the scope increased there. So it was just a general number of data terminations and cabling, and also to poke through devices in the floor.
What is a item poke through device?
It's like a floor box. It actually it pokes through the slab. Is kind of the when we met with the fire department and police department, we understood that there was a requirement now for card access. So instead of having a hard key, there was the desire to have card access so that first responders would be able to use a card swipe system to gain access into the building and to various locations. So several exterior door, well, I say several, not 2 or 3 exterior doors required those card readers and electrified hardware and access control hardware and software. There was also a need for a local sound system at the meeting room for our meeting with the Westborough TV people. We did get some comments from DPW relative to where we should tie into the water line, and this increased the scope of utilities and just in terms of access. increase costs slightly. As we looked at the existing concrete paving in the front of the building, it was kind of in poor condition. There were places where there were trip hazards. It was coming apart. I think it's been patched, but we were proposing to replace that with new paving. And that would be that front entrance and the walkway that leads over to the church access. Because
I'm just going to jump in and say we should not assume that we'll need the church access because we haven't come to an agreement with the church on use of that parking lot. Okay.
So that put that into that category. We at the location of the exterior pad-mounted chiller heater, which is right in where the fire escape is, that area of the building, we proposed to put a louvered screen fence there to give some visual and to visually and acoustically to mitigate the sight and noise from that piece of equipment. It's not a super loud piece of equipment, but it could be deemed unacceptable. So we're trying to add something that will screen that visually and acoustically. And finally, based on the amount of work that's happening at the existing 1908 building, we've just felt like the existing plantings would be destroyed more or less, due to the staging that's going to go on and the amount of work that's going on, repointing, window work, painting and such, that we did carry an allowance for replacing the existing plantings there.
Okay. Lee, your hand is up.
Yeah, a couple things. I'm a little perplexed. It seems like all through this, we every single meeting we have a different take on the high back, and it's always more money, and probably it's all very important. And it's too heavy for one place, we're going to put some other place. But I'm just wondering, have we finally gotten to a final determination on what the high back is going to be, where it's going to go, what it's going to cost? Are we still going to have more discussions about the fine details, and would those mean a change in the budget? So you don't have to answer that right this minute. And then on church access, one of the discussions for later is, as Ed was suggesting, whether or not we're going to need that pathway to the church. People are going to walk there anyway and just ruin the grass if we don't have a walkway. So I think that deserves later discussion again. And then on the plantings, you don't mean the big trees out front. You mean the shrubs and bushes around the building?
Correct. That would be the foundation plantings, Lee, and it would really just be at the 1908 building. But just to address, and maybe Brian can follow up on this, but in general, the further we go along in our design process, and the more detailed we get, the prices go up. And that's why we have a design contingency. As those prices get identified and the cost goes up, the design contingency goes down. So ultimately it ends up being zero. So the hope is that they kind of balance out.
Thank you.
How is that balancing going at this point?
Well, I think we're in reasonably good shape, Ed. I don't
I'm just
think
looking.
it's
It's
panic
dropped
time.
from 640,000 roughly to 520,000 roughly. So okay, there's a little bit of a decrease there.
And I think with the amount of time we've been putting into existing conditions and the level of the drawings at this point, I feel like we're in a pretty good place. I feel like we're in good shape. We've got a pretty solid set of drawings. especially, HVAC and plumbing and electrical. They're really starting to show a lot of detail.
Okay. I'm going to make my general comment is that a $700,000 increase or $600,000 on the total project budget is not going to make people happy at town meeting. We've been trying to pitch it as this is the money. So I'd like the whole group to take a very close look at this and find things we can get away with not doing to bring the estimate down closer to what we've had before.
Yes.
And with that said, I heard people have raised, I'm going to do John Arnold's thing at town meeting for the budget and just go down each list. Does anyone want to take a closer look at the existing conditions? And if you do sing out, how about concrete? Masonry, this is the Roman sized brick. I know we have we want to look at that. Metals is the bronze rails and maybe the glass balusters.
Yes.
Thermal and moisture protection is the trying to preserve the red slate.
Yes.
I skipped wood, plastics, and composites.
Yes.
That's plywood sheathing at the roof and attics. Do we want to take a closer look at that? I heard a yes, Lee.
Just so we really understand it, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to mark that as something to dig further into. Openings. Nobody. Okay, finishes. Also nothing.
Which openings?
Openings, I assume that's like doors and windows, Eric, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. That's exactly that, doors and windows.
And it went down slightly, so unless we want to look and see if it's, Eric, if your team thinks there's an opportunity in there to take some more cost out, you tell us and we'll take a look. But
We'll take another look at it. Ed.
Okay.
Nothing comes to mind right at the moment, but.
How about the skylight? I've even forgotten there was one. Do we need that? Whatever the skylight is, do we need that?
The skylight, it's over, you can see it from the third floor as you come up the stairs, but right now it's in that sort of moderately blocked room that used to be the room of things. You can get it right as you come up the stairs. I would be reluctant to get rid of it, probably this is just me personally, for historical reasons and because I like to get light into buildings. But if we want to look at that, we can certainly do that.
I think we should just look at it. Then we can say we looked at it.
Yep. Let's see, Eric, which item does the skylight fall under?
That has to do with
openings,
thermal and moisture protection. That goes along with the roofing.
Okay, so we've got the red slate and the skylight now under that item. Okay.
And salvaging the slate as well.
Right, salvaging the slate. Okay, I'm going to add the gray slate there as well. Okay. Openings, finishes. I'm not hearing anything. Specialties, that's the sign over the circulation desk. You want to take a closer look at that one?
I think our library director may want to, our new director. She probably hasn't had a chance to even think about it.
2 days. I'm sure she's had time to go deep into this.
I mean, that seems like expensive sign, so we ought to make sure it's what we want, where we want, and how we want.
So let's take a look at that one as well. Equipment, we have a $500 increase. Furnishings, we have a $225 decrease. Special construction, there's nothing there. Conveying equipment, there's nothing there. Fire suppression, there's no change. Plumbing has gone up by $1,955. HVAC, it's gone up by about $50,000. do we want to take a closer look at that?
I have a question which I'll send to LPAA or the Vortex or somebody. There's a reference in some of the materials that we sent out concerning the refrigerant being used, R410A, which is getting discontinued in the US. And I wondered whether we should be specifying a preference for the new refrigerants, which are low global warming solution focused. And the wording is kind of a contingent statements of use R10 or alternative and stuff. It seems to me we should be directing them to use the modern refrigerants.
I think that is the case, Pete. I know Kevin has talked to us about the fact that the refrigerants are being, that R10 or R410A or whatever it is being phased out with a new one, but we will confirm that with him.
I can take it offline in an email or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pete, okay, so next one is electrical, which is several cabling and other changes. I think we should take a look at that one myself, because some of those are kind of, they're useful, but also sound optional or maybe retrofittable. Any questions on earthwork? Any comments on exterior improvements?
Now, what was under exterior improvements?
That's redoing the pavement in front of the building.
Okay,
And
yeah.
including the path to the church
Yes,
lot.
yes, so we want to have that
Okay.
for discussion.
Okay, so, and last is utilities, which is a $10,000 increase. And Eric, is that any particular reason for that increase?
It was the length of the path to the water hookup.
Yeah, I think we got some comments from the DPW for that one. I think that's what you're seeing there.
Okay.
I think we also, as a result of conversations with the IT department, we are bringing in the underground services for the fiber optic, as you know, as well as, you know, definitely power, but also the fiber optic and data cabling into the building.
And in your list, was electrical division 26 included or?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I tell you, let's see, maybe I've just been highlighting things at this point. Let me share my screen, just a sec, I'll get a document up. And share. Okay, that's the agenda, which is not what we don't want to share, but let's see. Oh, come on, thing, share. 3, share. Okay. Let's see, what are people seeing now?
Your agenda.
The agenda, okay, great. That's what I thought, but so I'm gonna bring a blank sheet over here. So I'm just gonna start making a list of items and asking for a few people to take a deeper dive into it. So the first one is masonry, which includes the Roman brick chimneys. And I believe that's the primary thing. The other part that Eric mentioned on that is repointing the, oh man, I can't type.
It's okay. Fix it later.
Okay. So who would be interested in taking a closer look at that?
I'd be happy.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Lee, I'll join you on that one. And I'm just figuring that whoever we put on each group here can get together informally sometime between now and our next meeting, dig into the information and come back with a recommendation to the entire building committee. And then we can discuss and vote then. Okay, the next one is metals, which includes the bronze railings and the glass balusters. Looking for some volunteers for this committee.
I'm interested in that if somebody else wants to join me.
Can someone else get on the phone with Lee and talk through this?
Question, Ed, are you
Go ahead.
having individual committees or you having this all done in one committee to review the construction item?
What I'm looking, I think it would not be, let me take a step back and explain more. I don't want to do formal subcommittees, for one thing, because then we'd have to get everybody sworn in. And I don't think it's a good use of the 9-member, 10-member board's time to look at each of these in depth in a meeting. So what I'd like to do is get a small groups of people to, go into the estimates and talk to LPA if needed, and come back with an informed recommendation to the whole building committee for our next meeting. So I'm thinking 2 or 3 people who can take an hour or a few hours to, really understand what switching, for instance, from bronze railings to stainless steel railings would mean. Get an idea of the appearance and the more details on the cost.
Yeah, when's our next meeting?
I believe it's the 27th, but we need to establish that later.
I'm going to be on vacation that week, so it might be hard for me to do some of these. I'll have to do them this week with my partner.
If we can, if you and a partner can get together this week, we can make some decisions then, and the partner can bring it back to this group. So back to the original question. Anybody want to work with Lee on the metals question?
I'm going to be away next week, so I'm not going to sign up for any of these at this point. Yeah.
Well, Lee, I'll put myself on there as well.
Okay, you and I'll meet. Alrighty.
Okay. Wood, plastics, and composites. What was that one about? That was the plywood sheathing.
Maybe we don't need to discuss that.
That was kind of where I was. I think that those changes make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
To me. Okay, I'm going to leave that one off. Thermal and moisture protection. So that is the slate color, I'll call it. Slate color, preserving red slate, and skylight. Any volunteers for that one?
Bill.
Bill, great. Anyone else?
If it's appropriate for me to volunteer, I'm happy to do that as well.
I think that would be fine. There's nothing like input from the actual library staff to help us know what the library needs. I'm supposed to be a professional writer. I shouldn't be misspelling moisture. Okay, Division 2, specialties, which is the custom sign over the circulation desk.
Well, let's give that to Kate.
Okay.
I'm also
I can work with Kate as well.
Okay. Who was that? You, Len?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I'm happy to, if you guys let me know when you're meeting, if it's over Zoom, I'm happy to jump in on any of these if you want me to be there.
Yeah, well, we'll plan the next meeting at the end of this meeting. But as I said, I think it'll be 3:30 on Tuesday, the 27th on Zoom. Don't write that in ink yet. And we send out agendas to everyone involved.
I think she meant the other subcommittees.
The subcommittees, I would say whoever's on it, just get together informally and pick a time. So, next one we have is the HVAC, and I have down just because it actually sounds to me like these are things we need to do.
I don't think we need a subgroup on it. I was just hoping that we don't have a lot more changes coming up.
So I'm going to leave off the HVAC. Electrical, this includes, let's see, data cabling, poke-through devices, card access, and a local sound system. Any volunteers for that one?
Is there anything really to discuss there, Ed? Maybe Pete has more of an idea.
I personally would like to take a look at the costs of some of those things and see whether we, like the local sound system in particular, there's a very clear use for all of these things, and I just want to, that's the whole electrical thing overall, that's our largest single increase. At 100, almost 150,000. So I think it deserves a special look. Because, not least because we have a lot of things that other departments have asked us to do.
That's a good point.
And it's not on their budget, so.
I'll have a meeting with you on that, just poke around it. You know, if they're adding 50 poke throughs or whatever, could they get away with 30? You know, just on the margin, is there ways we can economize? It seemed like a huge change, and I did have some sense that it was people just asking for everything. I wasn't in the meeting, so I shouldn't.
Yeah, I was not in the meetings either, but that's
just to put a little back pressure on it to make sure it's all
okay.
Scrubbed.
Great. And last is the exterior improvements, which is the redoing the sidewalk and walk to the church in the front of the building. Any volunteers are interested in that? Also, there's a fence for visual and acoustic mitigation. Lee, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right place to put it, but we had spoken about it just briefly. If by chance we weren't successful in our appeal about the front door for handicap access issues, but it might be an issue anyway. We only have the 2 spots in front of the Forbes building or the side of the Forbes building. And at one point we were talking about if you're on Parkman Street and coming in that entrance, there was room to the left of that entrance toward Main Street where we could actually put 1 or 2 handicap spots, which would mean changing the curb and taking lawn away, and obviously it would be an expense of making those. Is there any point in this that we need to address that, or should we just wait to see how our appeal goes? Because if the church doesn't want people parking there, period, then that makes it more difficult for people with handicaps because you only have the 2 spaces. So handicap parking is kind of, a mixed issue. It has to do with the church and it has to do with our appeal.
So what you're proposing would be a curb cut long enough for 2 cars over on the library side of Parkman Street.
Yeah.
It would be designated as handicap spaces.
Only, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that that's come up before.
I mentioned it just briefly once before, but I just remembered it.
I'm inclined to think that I have 2 thoughts. One is we haven't been putting this into the project, and it's kind of it's a potentially a big thing to add. And the second is, it sounds like that could be done independently of this project. We could, we could come back 5 years and say we really need 2 more spots here, and wouldn't need to do it. So I'd like to leave that one off.
Okay, just so long as we note that it's on our what they call the parking lot agenda.
Okay.
I mean, how they say put something on the parking lot.
Parking lot on the parking lot. Okay.
Right.
And so back to the redoing the sidewalks and such in front. Eric, if I can ask you, you mentioned that it's starting to get to be a trip hazard, I think. So the sidewalk is deteriorating to the point where that is or will be a problem. Is that correct?
That's the way it looked to us, Ed.
Okay.
Especially the area that goes over to the church. That is individual pavers, and they're not very even. But even the main portion of the concrete in front of the building was starting to look poorly. And like I said, it had been patched, but eventually those patches will deteriorate and
Okay.
come apart.
Walter, your hand's up.
Yeah, question. This is the sidewalk that actually you walk out past the benches, or it's not the public sidewalk you're talking about out by the street, right?
No, it's just from the.
The walkway.
Yeah, from the property line back. It doesn't include the sidewalk.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Is this something we would just want to basically say this is okay, or do anyone want to take a closer look at it?
I don't think we need a closer look. If it's not safe, we should address it while we're addressing everything else. All we need is somebody like me falling on the walkway.
Yeah, I think the other thing to think about is the fact that there's going to be a tremendous amount of construction traffic over that area.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not going to hold up well.
Okay, so here's, okay, this shared on my screen is a list of issues we want to take a closer look at and who has volunteered to take a closer look at them. So if people are happy with this, I will send it out to the group after the meeting and rely on the different, each of the members of the different groups to get together and have those discussions and come back to us at our next meeting. Okay.
Sounds good.
Ed, I'd just like to add too that once we keep progressing into CDs, we'll be going over another cost estimate, and we'll discuss with you guys as well as the whether it be prudent or not for us to get another estimate as well that we can reconcile with it. And I would think that part of our job with LPA is, you know, if we start seeing us trending higher than where we are with our original ask, is developing a list of value engineering efforts that we can bring to the committee and kind of actively work with a live budget to make decisions this way as well. So something that would be coming up as we keep proceeding with design.
That would be excellent. Bill?
Yeah, I support that wholeheartedly. So I think, Brian, if you can give us just kind of a scope with some bullets and potential costs, I'd like to be a part of it.
Okay. Is there anything we need to talk about at this point? Let's see, have I stopped sharing?
No.
You stop sharing. Oh, no, you have this.
Okay,
You have
okay, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to talk about on the cost estimate at this point? Actually, I have one thing, but I'll just see if anyone else has that.
Ed, I just going on to those subcommittees to be talking. I know last month I volunteered to serve on a subcommittee to look at finishes and colors, and we were supposed to be meeting, but I haven't heard anything yet. Is that? Because that's something I'm serving my time for.
Yeah, Ed, they wanted to meet either tomorrow afternoon or Thursday. Just a few people to talk about the direction that they're moving on the interior materials and color schemes. So.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. So I'm not available those 2 days. So just keep you posted.
Okay.
So Christina's been on vacation this week, and I know she was trying to set something up. We have been working on it in-house. I think we're pretty close to being able to make a presentation to a subcommittee.
Yeah, she said that Cieta and Karina could help us walk through it, and just to make sure that they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think we'd want to have Christina there as well.
Okay, because she had sent it to me and said that they would be able to, that they know enough to lead us through it.
Okay.
But we can wait. We can certainly wait.
I'll talk with, did you actually have a time set up, Lynn?
No, Christina had said that Wednesday or Thursday afternoon was a good time frame for them, and Ed wanted to choose people from today's meeting.
Okay. I'll get with Christina and make sure we're on the same page, and I think it would be good if she were there.
Okay.
Okay. So Leonard, you mean do we need to choose that group now? I thought we had picked it last week or at the last meeting.
No, you had said that you wanted to choose it at today's meeting. And since we're going to wait for Christina, maybe we could choose it now. And then when Christina gets back from vacation, we'll be able to set that up.
Okay, let me jump in for 1 minute, because I know Bill has to leave pretty soon. I think Bill, Brian, and Al have been working on temporary library information. Is there anything you would want to report back to us now? And we will definitely go into it at our next meeting, but just wanted to see if there's anything coming up right now.
Not too much to report, but just to let the committee know that we've met. We've discussed some of the work that Bill and Al have done, reaching out to some potential sites. We've started putting requirements together that are going to go into the RFQ, and I have a tentative meeting with Shab, with D-Town's procurement, in order to start drafting that RFQ and getting the requirements in for it. My plan is that we can get this RFQ out as early as possible. We can get potential sites that we can bring to the committee for them to review. We can determine if there needs to be any preliminary work or setup or layout that needs to be done in these sites prior to going to town meeting so that we can accommodate for it. What we want to be is in a position that at town meeting, if this project is voted a go, that we hit the ground running and we can outfit this temporary facility as soon as possible and get the staff and operations moved to the new site as quickly as possible so that we can start construction.
Okay. I'm going to add that Kate and Lynn, y'all should pay particular attention to this, because if everything works the way we hope, you'll be living with this temporary library for a year or so.
Yes, and just to add to that, a very important piece once we get some of the requirements with Shab down is meeting with Kate and with Lynn and some of the staff and having an understanding size requirements, how much of the collection needs to be in the temporary house, because that's all going to play into the potential opportunities that we have, whether stuff can go into storage, or whether you have certain electrical requirements or Wi-Fi or fiber and access control that we're going to need to know about, that we're going to have to put into the budget.
Okay. Thank you. I see Pete and Lee have hands up.
Pete, I think you were first.
Okay. We, some of us in LPAA had a meeting with Mass Save concerning potential rebates and incentives and stuff. How is that reflected in the budgets that are being presented and so forth? Is that, is there any update on the outcome of that meeting?
I don't have an update, Pete. I'd have to get with Christina on that. I can't tell you that we have not incorporated any potential utility company rebates or Mass Save rebates in the cost estimates that we've put together. I think, Brian, can you
No,
confirm
and
that
I would
for
say
you?
for my rule of thumb is that we don't put in what we're hoping for at this point. We really want to make sure that we cover everything in the event that these don't come to fruition. But by the time that we begin construction and provide them the submittals and the agreement is signed, we will have an idea of what those paybacks will be, and at that point we can account for it, but we also don't want to shortchange us at the end of the project.
I think that's wise. Wouldn't we have a firm commitment before town meeting though, or is that? When do you expect a firm commitment from utilities and Mass Save?
I would think that by the time we go to the town for funding, we'd have a commitment. You know, we'd have a list of they call them MRDs, you know, the specific items that are being implemented to increase efficiency, and those are what they typically pay for in terms of tonnage and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and another thing from a cash flow perspective is that They don't cut those checks until all of their boxes are checked and satisfied. So once we receive our substantial completion, and sometimes there's some monitoring that needs to be done before the check is cut to the town. So that's another reason why we wouldn't account for it in the budget, because we need to make sure that the cash is on hand to pay the vendors, and then ultimately the rebate is given back to the town after substantial completion.
Thank you. Lee, you had your hand up a minute ago?
Yeah, I had mentioned this quite a long time ago, and Christina seemed interested when we were looking at pictures of the interiors of other libraries that had gotten renovated. And one of them had an incredibly complex carpet color system. It was very noisy and wild. And I spoke about how I wondered if Philamero had any consultants on that particular issue, because children with handicaps, especially younger children who spend a lot of time on the carpet, can actually be quite disrupted by a visually busy carpet. And it's really something that you want just to have blend in, not noticing that much. Maybe you have a different carpet delineated for the sit down reading area or something, but it's not like designs that can be disturbing. So I just want to make sure that we start, whoever's thinking about the interiors is thinking about what's the effect on children of, energizing and stimulating designs. That's not what we want in the library. We want them focusing on reading and doing their activities and being quiet.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we have that in our agenda someplace.
Lee, did I just hear you volunteer for the finishings committee?
Okay. I love finishes. I did them all in the Benedict building at UMass, so I'd love to do that.
Okay. Any other volunteers for that committee? I think this is a committee that'll meet more, that will be an actual subcommittee and have several meetings. But
I think it'd be fun to work with Kate or whoever she wants on it.
Kate, go ahead. Was that your hand up?
I was going to suggest that because the interiors and the finishes have so much to do with kind of the lifeblood of the library, and it would be really nice to have people who work here every day and spend 40 hours a week here, a part of that conversation and a part of that picture. So if I'm nominating from this lovely group of people, I would love Lynn and I at the very least to work on that with you all.
Maureen has also requested that she be on that committee.
Oh, cool. That's nice.
Okay. So we've got Lee, Kate, Lynn, and Maureen. Anybody else? Bob, you had already mentioned.
I had said last month that I would be on this committee.
Great.
Okay. So that gets us a group of 5, which is probably a pretty good size unless anyone else really wants to get in. Okay, very good. So I will notify the town clerk that we're forming that subcommittee, and at some point you all need to go and get yourselves sworn in as subcommittee members. Okay. Any other LBC issues? Sean, go ahead.
I don't know that necessarily has to be an official subcommittee.
You don't think so? If it doesn't have to be, then we can just keep going as we are and not be official.
Yeah, because it's not a quorum of members of this committee.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just gathering feedback, and any vote, I guess, would be taken within this committee.
That's correct.
Good point, Sean.
Yeah. Okay. If we don't have to be official, I think it's easier not to. So, okay. So we have an unofficial finishes group, which will be reporting back to the full LBC, and we'll take their decision into account. I had a question actually for Eric and Brian, which is, when do you, we've talked about a lot of things we're going to look into and decide. When do you need those decisions?
The sooner the better, Ed. Design development really is the phase where we want to make all our decisions. And moving into construction documents, we don't want to move backwards. So it's our hope is that we can get these decisions sooner than later. And we'll work with Brian too to help. We can help put together some potential VE items and the costs that may help your your various committees make some decisions. I think
Okay.
we can help there.
Eric, can I add one of the bigger items would be the slate, the roof, the direction we want to go with that. We've heard that because the project's not getting state or federal funding, the state and national government don't have a say, but we have learned that the local historical commission does have the right to provide advice and input. I don't know how binding it is, but I do believe we have to go before them with whatever direction the LBC wants.
Okay, that group, I believe, is Bill and Kate. Okay, so if y'all may want to reach out to that subcommittee, or once you come back with a recommendation, we can do so as a whole building committee, whatever works for y'all. Okay, so for the groups, go ahead, Mary.
I just wanted to pay some respect to this committee. I'm here because when Ed presents to the entire group, it's hard for me to, I mean, we had to have a private conversation about what HVAC was about. So I wanted to sit down and really hear what this was about and the amount of work you've accomplished and how you have it all settled up as to who's doing what. It was very interesting. And I now have a complete as much as I can be of what you're doing. So thank you for letting me sit in, and it was really eye-opening. So good luck, and anytime you need anybody, you know you can always call me. Not to do the HVAC stuff.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
nice to have you here.
Fundraising. Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, quickly, not to put Tony on the spot here, but from a overall budget and to maybe quell some of the concerns about where we are from the $600,000 to $700,000 over. The answers, Tony, for our schedule in regards to the variances and the front of the building, because if we determine that we do not need to do the front of the building on that alternate, and if we determine that the slate is, we are going to go with a different color slate, and we determine that we're not going to carefully remove the existing slate, that right there altogether is about $700,000 to $800,000. And if we just do very high numbers and we deduct the 800,000 from where we are right now, we're actually under the number that Ed was talking about at town meeting this year. So if we could get some schedule, that maybe might help the committee. So
except for we talked about the possibility of not needing that front entrance at town meeting too, or at least all of us knew about it. So I think we still have to pursue what we can.
Unbelievable. Yes, absolutely.
Just from the town meeting perspective, when we need that is by the town meeting in October. So, Sean,
No.
you've got your hand up.
Aren't you going to the spring town meeting?
Yeah, but we'll be reporting back. We'll be giving an update in October, I'm sure, just to keep some interest going. Sorry, Sean, I asked you and then I jumped in.
No. I just had a final thought. I don't know where we're at here. And maybe I'm jumping the gun here. I would like to say thank you to the members of LPAA. Last week, we had a meeting between them and the architects who are working on the community center building. And they came forward and presented this project. So the architects who are doing the other project know what is already incorporated over here. And they really did a terrific job representing this project to myself, Walter, and Christy, and the other architects. So at this meeting, I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget to say thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Bob.
Just to go back to Walter's question a minute ago, we're going for the final ask at the March 2025 town meeting, but I assumed like we did last fall at the October meeting, we just did a presentation up front. It was like in the beginning, John called us up to do a quick presentation, an update summary where no questions were being asked from the audience, that we just gave an update. So I'm assuming we'd be just giving an update at this October meeting, or would this be part of the town agenda where we're not asking any permission for additional funds, we're just giving a verbal update? And I'm not sure how that actually works, but I thought from last October, we just got up before the actual town meeting started and gave a quick, like 2 minute, I think it was 2 minutes to give an update.
That's what I was envisioning as well. I don't anticipate us asking town to vote on anything, so
Yeah.
we would have to ask John Arnold. Go ahead, Walter, you're waving.
I'm just saying goodbye. I gotta go. Bye.
Okay.
Hi, Walter.
Okay.
I think
Mike,
it's.
sorry, go ahead, Lee.
I just think it's very important. I think we all agreed before to keep this in front of our populace, because we don't want people saying you haven't kept us up to date, you're not transparent. So this really helps with that effort. And it'll be nice because it'll probably be the first time that Kate has an opportunity to address the public, and she can get her feet wet, not like jumping in the whole pool. She can just put her toe in and do her thing.
Mike.
Just to give a little bit more background on Eric's thought of sooner the better on the decisions. We have our 75% CD estimate to start on October 22nd. So to incorporate any of those decisions into that estimate would be good to have them by, about a month from now, middle late September.
I anticipate voting on the different issues and coming to a decision on the different issues we talked about earlier at our next meeting. So that's certainly well within that 1 month time frame. And then we'll have to depend on Brian and y'all's teams for value engineering to bring those up in a timely fashion.
That'll work.
Okay.
Would you also like me to bring to the committee a proposal for another third-party estimate for you guys to look at? And
yes, please do.
You can determine whether or not you want to proceed with that.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Okay. Any other building committee issues? Okay. So next meeting date, our standard meeting is the fourth Tuesday of each month at 3:30 on Zoom. That would be August 27th, unless I'm badly confused. Does that work for everyone? And do we need a meeting before then? I'm seeing nods and not hearing any objections, so I propose that we make our next meeting on the 27th, 3:30. Okay. Anything else? Then I can take a motion to adjourn.
Make motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Okay, so let's see, going through the list. Lynn?
Sukup, yes.
Lee?
Yes, Emery.
Bob?
Petroselli, yes.
Pete?
Ben Beck, yes.
Al? You're on mute, but I'm taking that as a thumbs up. Okay, so that's a yes. Sean?
Yes.
And myself is also a yes. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your time, and please get together with your, if you're in one of the little groups, please get together with your partners and dig into this stuff. Thank you.
Okay.
And